What do you do if you hate your point of sale software that you're using in your retail business? I mean, like really hate the software, whether it's the software itself or whether it's the support or the company. What if you hate the software you have in your shop? What do you do about it? Um, it's on my mind today because I was talking to a retailer, not a Tower Systems customer, not even somebody who would be a Tower Systems customer because their type of retail is not something that we serve. But I just happened to be talking to them and they hate their point of sale software. They not only hate the software, they hate the company the software is from. And I said, have you talked to them about it? Oh, no, no, that'll go nowhere. I said, why don't you have a conversation with them and let them know what you don't like? And they then started to think about what they don't like. And they struggled to put that into words. It turned out that their business was in trouble. Their business itself was struggling. And they it was kind of an easy thing for them to say, oh, the point of sale software is part of that. It's one of the reasons we're struggling. They bought the business from somebody else a few years earlier, who themselves had bought the software. So the people I was talking to hadn't bought the software. They hadn't been trained in the software. They didn't know the software very well, it turns out. And so their dislike of the software was more about what they didn't know than what the software was or wasn't doing, and then what support was or wasn't doing. And after we kind of talked in circles a bit about this, they agreed they would reach out to the software company, they would pay for some training and learn how to use the software because they agreed that it was probably likely that they were making mistakes themselves and blaming that on the software when it was their fault. Now, that's not going to be always the case if you don't like your software. But if you don't like your software or you don't like your software company, I would talk to them about it first because talking to them about it might mean that they can say, well, here are some things you're possibly not doing correctly, that if you do them correctly, you'll enjoy the software a lot more. I've seen it myself with Tower Systems customers where somebody will say, oh, I hate your software, it doesn't do this. And I'll say, well, actually, it does do that, and here's how you do that. And then they're angry, well, why didn't you tell us? Well, when they put the software in, they didn't want to be trained, they wanted a staff member trained. And that staff member has since left the business. So there's nobody in the business who's been trained in our software. And they saw that we were responsible for that, yet it was their choice that the staff member only was trained. And there are no, I'm not trying to make excuses here, but my point is that disliking a software company is kind of an easier move to make, an easier decision to take. The more complex view is going to be, well, what do I really think about the software? And is it the software? Is it my knowledge of the software? Is it the software company? Try and figure out where the frustration lies, because it's likely once you figure that out, you'll be able to address it somehow, either by being better trained or by switching software, which is also an option. But just saying, I don't like the software, I should move without doing any research or having a conversation with the software company, it's not a great move because I think you've got to do your homework. Make sure your software is absolutely up to date, that it's current. Now, if you've got old software, of course, you'll want to switch to something new and modern and made for today. But you've got to make sure that your software is current. Got to make sure that your knowledge is good. Got to make sure that you're taking on learning opportunities as they present themselves from the software company. Because there's no better way to get value out of software than by understanding how the software works. And, software can be a complex thing. It might take a fair bit of work to figure out parts of the software, but once you've figured it out, you can make a lot more money and you can make better business decisions, and that makes the software more valuable for your business. So If you're one of those retailers who's like, I hate my software, think about why, talk to the software company, and based on how that goes, figure out a plan of action. Just, raising your fists at the clouds and shouting won't achieve anything. There's no benefit in that for you. So you've got to take that kind of anger or frustration or rage or whatever it is and do something with that. Take a step forward because it's only when you take that step forward that you're going to get the business closer to where you want it to be. Thanks for watching.